Although before we go into that, as we approach the end of the year, I usually use this as a time to track my investments, analyze my spending, and find ways to improve. Like, even though I try to be diligent throughout the year, it helps to have an efficient system that does a lot of the legwork for me. That is where a sponsor, Rocket Money, could help. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. The app lets you track your expenses, manage and cancel your subscriptions, lower your bills, and build your savings all in one place. No joke, I've been using them on a daily basis to keep track of my finances, and they've been incredibly helpful in terms of giving me a high-level overview of everything, from spending, expenses by category, income, and payment reminders. It's also not uncommon to spend more money than you think. For example, a study found that the average American spends $133 more per month on subscriptions than they expect. So Rocket Money found a way to safely and securely identify those recurring charges, and then they cancel them for you with just a tap. They can also help you lower your bills just by uploading a photo and tapping a button. From there, Rocket Money will negotiate them down on your behalf for everything from internet to cable to phone bills and more. You can also create a budget that works with your income and set thresholds for your spending on categories like dining out and entertainment. From there, Rocket Money will notify you anytime you come close to exceeding those limits. It's kind of like having your own personal finance manager working 24/7 for you from your pocket. And they've constantly helped me track the payments I otherwise would have missed. So if you'd like to try them out for free and unlock more features with premium, head to rocketmoney.com/gram or click the link down below in the description to start on your path to saving more money and optimizing your spending. And now with that said, let's get back to the video. Next, we should talk about my personal favorite investment, real estate. Like I mentioned earlier, prior to 2020, real estate was my single largest investment, but lately I've begun to scale back. I've sold 2 properties that I no longer believe offer an attractive return relative to what they were worth, and I put my rental property investing on the back burner because it became very difficult for me to find a deal. Now, just for some context, when I was working full-time as a real estate agent, I would spend months looking at properties the moment they came on the market. I would write sometimes multiple offers every single week, and then once I closed, I would spend another few months renovating the property and then renting it out. It was not a passive process by any means, and as other projects became more urgent, I decided that real estate could wait while I balanced everything else out. But now I'm getting back into real estate, just not in the way that you might think. See, a few months ago, Dave Ramsey made an interesting point. He mentioned that the strongest returns in my entire portfolio came from the investments that I enjoyed the most, which happened to be real estate. And when he said that, something clicked that I should get back to the core of what made all of this possible to begin with. That's because the more time I spent looking back in the real estate market, the more opportunity I personally saw in commercial real estate, especially during a time where they've already declined 13% from the peak. This encompasses everything from retail to office space to restaurants to shopping centers to warehouse space and anything a business could use over the next 5 to 25 years. Not to mention, another advantage of commercial real estate is what's referred to as a triple net, which means a tenant is responsible for paying the operating expenses like taxes, insurance, and maintenance fees. This would allow me more time to focus on the larger projects without being bogged down with the day-to-day of managing a real estate portfolio. Now, I did not expect it to be easy to find a property that I want, but my rationale is that with treasury rates currently paying between 4 and 5%, commercial real estate should be selling at a significantly higher premium given the risks associated with tying up your money in a property. So once I find something that makes sense to purchase, I'll make an offer and then see what happens. This time, I'm not going to limit myself to any location, but if you go ahead and subscribe, I'll do my best to keep you posted as soon as I have any updates. I'm just planning to be extremely patient here. I'm not in any rush, and hopefully I could find something in the next 12 months. But in addition to that, there are a few other options that we have to talk about, including alternative assets. As of now, this currently makes up under 5% of my entire portfolio, but admittedly, a few of those investments have done fairly well. For example, this 2005 Ford GT has gone up about 30% since I bought it 2 years ago. My Tesla Roadster so far has been a much safer investment than the stock, and several of the watches I bought are up about 20% from the price I paid. Now, that doesn't mean you should go all in on Rolex watches and exotic cars, but it does mean that you can indulge your passions in such a way that doesn't cost you money. For example, I still think a bone stock Honda S2000 is relatively undervalued. 2000s BMWs could be easily modified and are slowly becoming more collectible, and if you're a fan of watches, consider a vintage Tudor since they're as close as you could get to a Rolex without paying the price of a Rolex. Although when it comes to myself, even though I did add on a few alternative purchases in 2020 and 2021, I'd rather just focus more of my time on buying more real estate, so I'm not going to be adding anything more to this category. But I am still buying a small amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum on a regular basis, but it only makes up about 3% of my entire portfolio, split split evenly between the two. My thinking is that if it does well in the future, great, and if not, it only makes up 3% of my entire portfolio, and I'm willing to take the risk to see what happens long term. And finally, the remainder is going into treasuries and money market funds that are currently paying anywhere between 3.5% and 4.5% interest. For me, the entire point of all of this is just to save up enough until a good real estate deal comes up, at which point I could evaluate exactly how much I'll need. But until then, at least I get some safe return on my money, whereas otherwise I'd be earning nothing. So overall, in 2023, I have a feeling it's going to be another year of more of the same. Personally, I don't think that stocks or real estate are going to see any sort of miraculously crazy returns. I don't think there are going to be that many good opportunities out there, and I think it's a great year for everyone to reset their expectations of what it means to be an investor. This is all about gaining a more level-headed approach and sticking with the fundamentals that have proven to work for over a century. At the end of the day, I have not stopped dollar cost averaging into the markets, and by diversifying my portfolio throughout as many different options as possible, I'm basically trying to build something that could withstand Jerome Powell trying to ruin it. So really, all of this is done with the next 20 to 30 years in mind, and like I said earlier, whatever happens in between now and then doesn't really matter. Now, of course, that doesn't mean I wouldn't jump at a really good commercial real estate property, but things like that take time. So like I said, if you want to be kept up to date, make sure to subscribe. I post 3 new videos every single week, and as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of a cat. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, feel free to add me on Instagram, and don't forget that you can get a free stock with our sponsor, Public.com, down below in the description with the code GRAHAM. Enjoy, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.